unexpected as police began a major crackdown on crack dealers in the East Bay. 36 Pittsburgh police officers launched Operation Clean Sweep today in 5 different neighborhoods. Raiding the suspected drug dealers in broad daylight sent a clear message to pushers and honest people living in that area that dope dealing will no longer be tolerated. Pittsburgh investigators have been on surveillance for 3 months, videotaping drug buys to gain evidence for today's arrests. And San Francisco police may start seizing cars driven by suspected drug buyers as well as drug dealers. Their proposal is almost like the Coast Guard's zero tolerance program. These cars were taken from suspected pushers. If the controversial police plan goes through, they plan to start snatching cars away from anyone involved in any way in a drug deal. The board is going to hold public hearings first. The ACLU is challenging the whole concept. Make sure that
in a truck, and he made 105 separate crack cocaine buys. What was special about this operation is that they had a concealed videotape camera in the truck, which recorded not only the deal, but the dealer. Today, they went out to serve 83 arrest warrants on the men and women who showed up on that videotape.
Police officers on today's Operation Clean Sweep were told to approach their suspects slowly. The idea was to identify, search, and arrest some 83 identified Pittsburgh crack cocaine dealers without getting everybody in the neighborhood excited.
Open up!
One individual ran inside this house when told to stop by police.
Come here! Come here!
More than 23 arrests were made this way by 4 this afternoon. One longtime Pittsburgh resident lost one of his workers to the sweep. Sal says he's lived in the same house in this neighborhood for the past 58 years. He says he's happy the police are out arresting drug dealers.
If they would tell me more taxes for police, I'll give them out of my pocket.
So you think is crack a problem around here? Drug dealers, is that a problem?
You answered your own question, my friend. Plenty of it.
Bad, huh?
Bad. Worse.
Mac, police didn't end up with any actual crack in today's operation, but they did arrest 33 of the people they had arrest warrants for. They still have 50 to go, and Pittsburgh police are on the streets right now making sure they're going to pick them up. I was reporting live from Pittsburgh. I'm Tomas Ramon. Mac?
Thanks, Tomas. The police in Pittsburgh also say that a lot of that crack is coming from Los Angeles. They say that their town is becoming a port of entry of sorts, a Northern California connection for big Los Angeles crack dealers.
Some indoor marijuana growers are going to get to spend some time indoors at the county jail. San Francisco police busted 2 high-tech marijuana growing factories in the Bayview Hunters Point section of town inside an illegal garden worth several $1 million. 4 people were arrested, and police said it was one of the biggest growing operations in San Francisco's history. It produced 3 crops a year since 1983. San Francisco police are taking a new road in the war on drugs. They want to take the wheels away from drug dealers. Police may start seizing cars used in drug transactions, even if they contain just tiny amounts of drugs. Police see it means more work, but the message is worth it.
The benefit for us is really more work. The benefit to the community is that we're hoping we can send a message out to people that are coming into the neighborhoods to buy drugs on the street or to sell drugs on the street, that if you violate the law and you use a vehicle in the course of that action, you stand a chance of losing that vehicle.
The program is similar to the one used by the federal government called the Zero Tolerance Program. The cars could be seized and then sold even if the owner is cleared of drug charges.
Center 4's Linda Yee.
One day after Pittsburgh police swept across the city's drug-dealing neighborhoods, the streets were empty.
Yesterday at this time, we had 30 individuals standing at the street corner. You can see the effect that it has.
37 suspected dealers were rounded up in the raids. Today, detectives were looking for more.
Another hotspot for us here is 7th and West. Day after day after day prior to the roundup going down the street, this corner was filled. We had shootings through here, actual gun battle that took place at this intersection, and real big problems here, and we have absolutely no traffic at all in here now.
Police say the word was out. Dealers are in hiding. Lieutenant Aaron Baker.
I think we put some suspicion or some fear in their mind where they start making sales to people out on the street. There could be a suspicion that they are undercover narcotics officer.
For 3 months, undercover officers videotaped drug buys. This is the evidence they'll use against the suspects they arrested. For the people who live here, Operation Clean Sweep was welcome relief. Johnny Hill Jr. was worried for his elderly parents.
It did my heart good to see what was happening, you know, see what the Pittsburgh police is doing about this. Because, I mean, you know, we need this. Police!
Police have warrants for 43 more suspected dealers, including 4 juveniles, one as young as 16. Today, they went to their homes.
Police department, I have an arrest warrant for Richard Ward. Open the door.
But house after house, the story was the same. Suspects were laying low, leaving their family to answer to police.
What's the last time you saw them? Where I'm
Police say they are hoping the streets will remain quiet for at least several more weeks. Investigators say they will continue their high profile in the hot spots in order to intimidate suspected dealers. In Pittsburgh, Linda Yee, News Center 4.
Hey, where you going? This is Mike O'Connor. Those arrested yesterday were beginning the long trip through the rest of the justice system today. Through a system that everyone from judges to jail guards says is about jammed to capacity. And the chief public defender of the county says the congestion clogs the courts and helps defendants. Charles James.
They benefit because if the courts cannot try the cases, then they are forced into a position of discussing the cases. And in discussing them, they tend to offer dispositions short of what they might want because the system can't accommodate all the business.
The district attorney's office agrees the system is being taxed, but says the glut of new cases won't bring plea bargaining. Dale Miller.
I can assure that we've had other narcotics raids before, and we have not run any type of wholesale discount or something. They're processed like the majority of our cases.
Miller says his staff will just work harder, but the overload in the system is evident at the defendant's first stop today, Delta Municipal Courthouse. Previous cases are crowding the filing system and files are being moved. This year's narcotics cases have nearly tripled the normal load here. They're hoping for an additional judge. The adult probation department says it too is working beyond capacity. And more of these prisoners than usual could get probation because the Maine County Jail is so crowded. It was built for fewer than 400 and is housing more than 800. The sheriff has given some prisoners an early release. The system, said a defense attorney, hasn't broken yet, but it's cracking and splintering. In Pittsburgh, Mike O'Connor, News Center 4.
Despite the crackdowns, no apparent slowdown in drug trafficking. Last night, the Highway Patrol stopped a white limousine near Los Banos after the driver was reportedly seen waving a handgun. Inside the car, officers say they found 2 guns, $160,000 in cash, and $2 million worth of cocaine. The driver and 3 others were arrested.
That gives you an idea of the high end we're talking about here, although most of the suspects are street-level dealers. The roundup began just a couple of hours ago. It is without a doubt the largest drug sweep in this city's history.
Remember your backdrops. You're going to have citizens out there. There's going to be people all over the place in these hot areas that we're going to go make the arrests in.
3 dozen East Bay police officers armed with 85 arrest warrants swept through crack cocaine hotspots in downtown Pittsburgh today, arresting 29 suspects. Another 56 are still at large, but police say the roundup will continue.
These people that are being apprehended now, they're indirectly responsible for a number of homicides that have occurred in the city, robberies, burglaries, assault with deadly weapons.
Today's sweep culminated a 10-week undercover operation. Pittsburgh police videotaped over 100 narcotics buys.
Oftentimes you'll have so many individuals standing about, it'll be almost like a contest to see who can get up to the car first.
Officers say this camera work is essential evidence. A past operation using videotape resulted in a 99% conviction rate.
One of these go for approximately $20 out on the street.
The operation netted large quantities of crack cocaine, thousands of dollars in hard cash, and a $33,000 brand new Chevrolet Corvette. At least 5 of the suspects, police say, are big-time dealers.
It's not unusual for Los Angeles people to come up here directly, and they're large-scale people. Not too far back, we received, a suitcase full of, a briefcase full of cocaine rocks.
When the history books of the future write about America's war on drugs, it is doubtful that this day in Pittsburgh will be mentioned. But it is here, on the streets of Pittsburgh and communities like it, that the war against mind-addicting matter is being waged every day. Bob, I can tell you that police just brought in another couple of suspects. Number 30 and 31 are under arrest. They are confident that all 85 will be behind bars before long.
Busy day in Pittsburgh. Thank you,
Sure
Mike.
is.
Police sweeps, undercover operations, video cameras, the kind of thing you saw, they are all essential weapons in the war on drugs, and they are very expensive. But East Bay reporter Stephanie Frederick found a lot of people in Solano County willing to pay the price.
Things used to move at a slower pace in Fairfield, but not anymore. Drive-by shootings like this one in Vallejo last spring have become much too familiar. The county's murder and burglary rates are up more than 15%. Some blame the violence on growth, saying too many people moving into a community already growing faster than it should. Others say what's moved in are drugs and drug dealers. For that reason, county officials are crusading to launch their own war on drugs.
We've seen the problems beginning to increase all over the county, and we don't have the resources to deal with the problem that some of the larger metropolitan areas have.
To finance the drug war, the county would like to raise the sales tax by 1/2 cent. That would raise an estimated $10 million. 70% of the money would go to the county, the other 30% to the cities. All the funds would be earmarked for drug enforcement and drug treatment and prevention. The folks who gather each day at Joe's Buffet, the local watering hole, say it's about time Solano County got involved. Most of them don't mind paying higher taxes if the county can lower the boom on drug dealers.
I'm for it. I think Solano County needs to do something about the drug problem.
A couple cents on the tax dollar to me is well worth, any fight against drugs.
It won't hurt me, no, and I don't think it will hurt too many people.
But Solano isn't the only county considering this drug tax. Other Bay Area counties like Alameda also have a drug tax on the drawing board. It's a sign that more and more communities are finally realizing they're going to have to fight the war on drugs in their own backyard and at their own expense. In Fairfield, Stephanie Frederick, News Center 4.
Stephanie mentioned Alameda County. Well, Alameda County Supervisor Don Parada says he'll introduce a proposal at the supervisors meeting next week. Parada's plan would call for a $10 across-the-board increase in property taxes to help pay for drug prevention programs. If the supervisors approve the proposal, it goes to voters in November.
And how about this? People who use their cars to buy or sell drugs in San Francisco may lose those vehicles. In fact, the police department is now considering its own version of the federal government's zero-tolerance policy. And it would work this way. Vehicles used by suspected drug dealers would be seized and sold. But at least one supervisor doesn't like this idea. He is Richard Hongisto, a former policeman himself, who thinks this version is unconstitutional.